coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jet airliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Welcome aboard to the Golf Club Indian Point Studios, coming to you on this Tuesday. Looking forward to Charlie Miller joining us again today as he's filling in for Kevin Brockway, who is on vacation. Also looking forward to being joined by Mike DeCourcy, and the Chronic Hoosier will stop by as well. Plenty to talk about, as always. Man, the first thing I saw this morning was a tweet by Reggie Miller, and I just loved it, retweeted that thing. And I'm like, college players, this. Reggie says he would not have dreamed of trying to join another star, even if it was MJ. The direct quote from Reggie, you got to love Reggie. Reggie was just a competitor, man. If Michael Jordan would have called me and tried to sway me to come to Chicago, I would have told him to go F himself. And I believe that. That's the mentality of those guys. It's changed. The society has changed. Now everybody wants everything handed to them. Everybody, let's go make a super team. Let's just go create. Instead of work for it, let's create it. Yeah, everybody wants to create everything today. Well, welcome in. Hope everybody's having a good day. Love my man Reggie, man. That's why Indiana loves Reggie. I mean, Indiana loves Reggie Miller. And why not? And he's adopted Boom Baby. How's everybody doing? Looking forward to another day here. Looking forward to Charlie being on with us today, and Charlie getting to talk to Mike DeCourcy. I love seeing the mix of people. But yeah, that statement by Reggie, that goes for pro players too. They're doing it. They're the ones that started it. They started that. And now the college players are getting to do it, which I don't mind them getting to transfer. But I got to be honest, when you hear Trace Jackson Davis talking about how he's trying to get someone that's at another school to come here, I don't like that. Not just about Trace Jackson Davis. It has nothing to do with Trace Jackson Davis. In general, I don't want it to be okay for other college players to contact other college players who are on another team at another school and say, hey, come join us. Come here. No, not before they go there when they were being recruited. That's okay. It's a recruiting process. But not while they're there. That's no different than tampering. That is no different than tampering unless they're in the transfer portal. So, and there's no way, I don't know that there's any way to prevent it because it's too massive. But it's the same as tampering in pro sports. And I don't like that. There's enough change going on in college sports now without adding tampering to it. I think it's going to make it work. We haven't even seen what's going to happen with the name, image, likeness, and all of this transfer portal stuff with all these kids that are in the portal. I hope that this is just this is the first time it's happening, and it's just a big bust. Everybody's going to see what it's like and all that. But we'll see. Mike says, if you're a true competitor and an alpha, you wouldn't want to be. Wouldn't you want to be the big dog on your own team? Yes, absolutely. That's what Reggie was. He was the alpha. He was the dog. And he's saying that he always would be. And yeah, change in society, man. Just a change in society. But that's okay as we go forward. It is what it is, and it is the changing landscape of sports in general. It has just simply changed, and that is college sports is no different. And it's going to be massive changes when this stuff hits. I'm telling you, the name, image, likeness. Look at what the cheating, what it's been like when it's simply been cheating, illegal cheating. It didn't matter. It still went on, and it was still working. So now this is legal cheating. You think they're not going to cheat behind this? You're out of your mind. It just is just going to go further is all. But I don't know where it's going to end up. It could be the end of college athletics as we know it. I just don't know how in the world that you could possibly not have an advantage. But there are advantages now, but these advantages are possibly going to be exacerbated. Joyce says Indiana needs an alpha. Yeah. Who is that alpha? Who will that be? That's a great question. That's a great question. Alpha dog on the Indiana team, as Don Fisher first mentioned back on the show while during the season. Who is this team? Do they even have an alpha dog? I don't know that they do. Someone needs to become that, if not. And I think Dane Fife will recognize that because Dane Fife is an alpha coach, an alpha guy, period. He was an alpha player. He'll recognize if they don't have one or if there is one, and he can cultivate that. But someone needs to step up, absolutely. Joey Green says Lander could be. Will it be Xavier? Xavier, I'm telling you, he's got the most swag of anybody on the team. When we come back from the next break, John, our producer John, will play a video that IU put out, and just he's got some swag to him. I mean, he had an issue with some technical fouls, getting a few extra technical fouls, which means he could be mouthy a little bit, and that could be something that you got to tame that down, but you got to live on that edge a little bit. You got to be on that edge. I mean, you heard, if you listened to the show last week, Mike Davis was on, and he talked about Dane Fife he's laughing, but every game that the referee was coming over with Dane Fife and whoever he's guarding and saying, all right, these guys are under warning already. Well, that's what you need. You need an enforcer, or a guy that the team can count on, not to be a thug. I'm just saying, to be the guy. And I don't know who that is on this team. Tony it's going to hurt a lot of teams in the long run, particularly in mid-majors. You happen to develop a player in a Power 5 school, will be there to approach him, talking about the transfer portal. Actually, Tony, when Mike Davis and Dusty May were on with us the other night, last week, they talked about how they just recruit the portal now. They recruit the portal a lot. So they like the portal. Mike Davis said he loves it because they too can get developed players, which helps them not have to do that. I'll tell you who it's hurting. This is hurting freshmen in high school. If these bigger teams, this is becoming a farm system. Unless you're an elite player, you're going probably straight to the lower edge and then you move up. I mean, is that what this is going to become? A farm system of sorts. We'll see. It could be. Then you get allegiances with teams. We have a lot of that already, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a change. Change in sports all the way around. I don't know if it's going to be one that everyone likes, but more importantly, just getting back to winning is what people care about at Indiana. And I think they're heading in that direction in basketball. Of course, football is already there. Looking so forward to football this season. NBA, Steph Curry passed Wilt Chamberlain as the all-time scorer for the Warriors. Just for the Warriors, that is. My Reds in first place. I cannot believe this. They won it. They had won 6 straight, then they lost 2. But back on the winning side last night. I'm just waiting for that to fall apart. But yeah, it's wow. The Reds, are they for real, man? We'll see. We'll see if they are for real or not. As we're looking forward to baseball now. I just haven't been able to enjoy it being a Reds fan. It's been so miserable the last several years, but we'll see how that goes. fans, I've had people ask me about going if they can go to the IU games. And unfortunately, that is for family only right now out at the BART. So unfortunately, you do not get to see that. Let's see. Why didn't we get Tim Cross from the transfer portal of Louisville of all teams? I'm not sure why anybody would. The Louisville thing is intriguing to me. There's trouble coming to Louisville. I don't know when it's coming, but I don't understand how in the world, unless you're going there for 1 year and your reasons or whatever they are, I don't understand going to Louisville when they are potentially looking at being hit with an NCAA ban at any time. I don't understand that, but they continue to get them. So I don't know is the answer to that, but maybe Indiana did not recruit that kid is another thing. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to him, but that's someone that they recruited before. But it does amaze me that Louisville is able to do. But that's a good job by their coaching staff. I mean, Chris Mack has done a good job there. We shall see. Let's see. Joyce says we are looking at 2021 Tamar Bates. Yep, 6'4" shooting guard, 4-star, 56 nationally. Yeah, man, they could be. I don't understand Armand Franklin's decision. It's whatever's best for him, but someone seems to have gotten into his ear, and because I don't understand how that's better for him. How he didn't. I don't think he heard the situation out. I think his decision was made. Thank you, sir. Hey, man, new listener. Appreciate you. Down in Memphis, Tennessee. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I just don't understand the decision. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think there's a gain for him. Yeah, you're going to play for Tony Bennett, and it's a good program and all, but I think personally he would have been better off at Indiana for his future. He's not an NBA player, not right now. And I don't think that going to play for Tony Bennett is going to make him an NBA player. I think having stayed here would have probably done a better job of that for him and would have been better for his future after that, no matter what had happened. But again, I'm not judging him. It's whatever he needs to do. We got to take a break. We got plenty more coming up. Charlie Miller is going to be joining us to co-host the rest of the day. Mike DeCourcy will be joining as well, and Chronic Hoosier later. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used.
And right after I play the Reynolds guest is when I'll fire off that video, and then we'll come back.
Well, there's no guest in this next segment.
Mike's supposed to come.
Oh.
Isn't he?
Yes, that's true. You're right. Never mind. My bad.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Well, I sent a text to Charlie saying
I sent everybody a reminder email a second when I sent Mike a text, and then Chronic got back to me, so he knows he's at 10.
But he's open. He's at work.
And I know Mike does Tom Leach around this time too, so Mike could be just getting off Tom Leach.
Who? What?
Mike also goes on with Tom Leach. I don't know if it's on Tuesdays or not, but he could be. He could have. The reason he wasn't responding, he could be because he was on.
Tom Leach from Kentucky?
Yeah, he's on his show once a week.
Where's his show?
They're on iHeart. At least they're on that same. They're on WKJK right before KSR.
So, well, Mike would be talking about two different things.
If I don't know if he's on Tuesdays, I can't remember. I just know that there's been a couple of days where I've worked that shift, and Mike's been one of the guests.
Oh yeah, when you talk to iHeart, that's another thing. You can tell them that we also, cover the Pacers and the Colts because we have Taylor and Chris Denari on. Yeah, baby. Oh my God, that would be so wonderful. Oh, hey, Mike. Hey,
What's
we
going
got
on,
video.
Jim? How are you?
I'm great, man. Seeing you. Video. Look at him. Looking great. Look like you got a tan.
That's just bad lighting. That's just bad lighting, man.
Man, I need some bad lighting. I'll tell you. No one has ever needed bad lighting worse than I do. Man, I was telling John, our producer, there was something so bad. I was like, last night I was in bed, like, I got to write that down. It's a great topic for Mike. And I did not write it down. And I'm so mad. I even have a notebook next to my bed for that very reason and did not do it. Gosh darn it.
All right, back in 30, and then remember the video will play before you all come back.
Yeah, you'll find great places to visit, to stay,
what? Hold that till 10
dine,
o'clock.
and
Hold
to
it till
play.
10. That's fine.
We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Bloomington's the #1 Honda dealer. Joined now by the great Mike DeCourcy. Michael, how are you, sir?
I am well, Jim. How are you?
Well, the Reds are in first place, so I'm floating on a cloud that is about to evaporate at any moment, I'm certain.
My wife has been arguing that they should now go back to the shortened season that they did a year ago. So that, you only play 60 games. That first place performance in first 10 games feels like a lot more impressive and a lot more.
I'd say we stop it right now. No, not 60 games. Just stop it now. What are you talking about? Mike Charlie's joining us today. He's our co-host today. Have you guys ever got to speak or meet Mike DeCourcy?
I obviously remember Charlie, but I've not met him. No.
Yeah,
Charlie, Mike DeCourcy.
How you doing, Mike?
It's great to see you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Same here.
Mike joins us. Charlie co-hosts normally on Mondays with us. Kevin, who's with us, is on vacation today, so Charlie is sitting in with us. So that's why Charlie's on. But I love getting to introduce people to people. Mike has been with the Sporting News for 30 years.
25.
25 years. He's also on BTN and Fox, the studios. Charlie, your playing days were you were still where were you when Charlie was playing at IU?
You got to give me your years.
98, 94 to 98.
Okay, so 94 to 98, I would have been. I would have started your career in Memphis. I would have joined Sporting News as a part-timer in the middle of that and moved to Cincinnati covering the Bearcats. And that would have been before Kenyon Martin would have been on the team, but before he became a superstar.
Okay, I was gonna say Kenyon Martin. So
man, I see. Just to hear that name, that's a name from the past, man. I forgot about that. I love hearing names like that, but and those stories. But and talk about that. When you look back now to your start, since we just started that, and it was not an intentional thing, but the beginning of your career and starting out at Cincinnati. Where did you intend to go? Where did you think you were going to go?
When I started in Pittsburgh, my first job, I thought ideally that my goal was to become a columnist. And I didn't really want to leave Pittsburgh. I was a lifer there, born and raised, and went to college there, and thought that's where I'd stay. And when I was 32, my paper went out of business and to leave. And I honestly, it's funny how things work out, but it wasn't what I wanted, and I still miss being there. But from a career standpoint, it was the best thing that ever happened because it forced me out of my comfort zone. And the place that I wound up living for the next 4 years, Memphis, was the best place for me to go because this is a true story. When I was in Pittsburgh, and my brother was a basketball player, and so I fell in love with the game at an early age, and I watched it intently. So I was either going to cover college basketball, cover Pitt for the rest of my life, or I was going to become a daily columnist, and I was fine with either one of those. And So I was really devoted to the sport. And one time I wrote that, I can't remember which side it was, but one of the two teams that I was covering in a Pitt game shifted into a 2-3 zone. And I put that in my game story, and my editor told me, never do that again. Our readers don't understand it. And that's the truth. That's a true story. And so when I moved to Memphis, which is it's one of the best basketball cities in America. They love the game. They raise a lot of great players there. And so when I got there, the whole idea was, oh, you understand the game? Tell us all you can. Tell us that you can tell us. And it was a complete reversal. Yeah. And it allowed me to learn more about the game and try to share it with the readers. And it was a great experience. So that really helped me get to where I am today.
Nice.
Now, yeah, you could probably put in he did a crackback block, and they would have no problem with that at all.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. No, you can go as far into football as you wanted.
I have a question for Mike. So were you covering Pitt as a columnist basketball team?
Yeah, I covered 3.5 seasons. Okay. Sean Miller was the point guard there. He was the point guard pretty much my entire time there.
Got it. Because I was going to say, you remember the name Montego Cummings?
Oh yeah, Montego would have come after I left town.
Okay, there we go.
Montego was recruited by
Jamie Dixon.
And Ralph was the coach. My entire time covering Pitt was Paul Evans was the head coach.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's kind of my era going back.
Right.
But just the fun days. And yesterday when Charlie was on, he was talking about his trip there, asking how in the world does a guy from Miami end up in Indiana? Because that's not a typical Indiana recruit back then, right. or back in the day. But things had changed a little bit then. But it's just the stories on how things end up are just always great, because there's always this one little path that was off that changes everything, it seems. That's but right. It's just funny that. But getting back into real life, Mike, we're back into Indiana's coaching. They've got that solidified, I guess you can say. They have not officially named the third guy, but their name's floating around. But the more important people are in set. It seems like Armand Franklin's left for Virginia, which I found that as a little curious. But I think that they may be better off when the season rolls around next year than they were by the time the season ended.
Well, I think there's a chance for that. Absolutely. I still think that the first element of putting the team together was making sure that the players you wanted to stayed. And that would begin with Trace, who has a chance to become one of IU's, significant players in its history. And then secondarily, I thought Jordan Geronimo was an important player to retain. I thought that of all the things that Arch did or didn't do that I agreed or disagreed with, his use of Jordan, I thought this year was one area that I found lacking. I thought that Jordan offered something that team didn't have in most of its iterations, most of its rotations. Jordan had a spark to him from a defensive standpoint. He may not have had complete mastery of the schemes and that sort of thing because he was a freshman, but there was a dynamism there that was missing for most of their rotations, as well as the fact that although he certainly doesn't solve by himself the perimeter shooting deficiency, you could at least put him out there expecting that there would be a chance that if he took a shot, he'd make it. And so I thought that keeping him was really important as well. And then the next thing you have to do is I do think that they have to look at the transfer market and see if there's another shooter out there. Now, maybe Parker Stewart solves that problem for them to an extent. But if he solves it to an extent, then good, get another and solve it completely.
Yeah, Charlie.
No, yeah. I mean, because I don't know. In today's game, Mike, you got to be able to shoot the ball. I know you know that. And just my observations, just when I started joining the show several months ago, just watching Indiana. So by career, Mike, I'm a player development coach. So, shooting is a skill now that, we all need to have in today's game. And it's just watching them. I was like, it was like, and listening to Archie also, not degrading anything he said. I know they were making shots in practice. I can imagine that. But in the game, it's like, I don't know if you're shooting those pressure late shot clock situation shots. And I think that's what it came down to me when I watched and observed. And it's almost like, it became predictable what they were going to do, how they were going to do it. And defenses, they kind of feed on that, and I know what I'm talking about, right? So that's kind of just my take on that. So I'm loving what you're saying, because, if we can get more shooters, I think that'll help us tremendously.
And according to what Mike was saying, Don Fisher calls it the alpha dog, that this team just did not seem to have an alpha dog. We were talking about it earlier, and you talk about Geronimo. He's not maybe a great offensive output, but maybe he still becomes the alpha dog because he brings exactly what you talked about, that spark, that's exactly. Something that gets the team going.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I do think if you're going to get to that alpha dog mentality, though, it has to be someone that's a prominent player.
Yeah, you're right.
Your point guard or your star. It has to be one of those two guys.
Yeah.
And it's pretty apparent that it's not going to be the point guard. So I think Trace has to do two things in this offseason. And one is he's got to work on taking his game away from the basket. Not that you want not to be in the post, but he's got to add it for his own sake, not just the team's.
Yeah, exactly.
But and then the second thing is he has to say, look, I didn't come back here to lose. And so everybody's got to get in line and do what Mike says and do what I say when, if Mike tells me, he's got to be both of those. He's got to be a little bit better from, and I think that with the way, with his stroke, I don't see any reason why he can't be at least a foul line shooter. And if you don't think that makes a difference, look at what Cameron Krutwig was able to do just because he could take his game out to the foul line and how he changed Loyola's team. So if you can do that, obviously for Trace's sake, if he could go out and shoot, 23 footers, it'd make him a lot of money. But the first is you have to conquer just being able to step away with confidence shooting basketball.
One thing that they will have to replace is Joey Bronk, as he just announced 14 minutes ago that he will be continuing his education elsewhere next year. So a little surprise there. I thought he was coming back, but with that announcement coming out now, that changes. But I don't know, they didn't have him all of last year, so that's something that they'll probably look at replacing in the portal. With Race Thompson staying, that helps.
Yeah, I think Joey would have helped, and I'm not surprised Joey's not coming back, but I would have thought that if he were to leave, that it would just be to go and start his professional career. I'm surprised that he would transfer, given everything he's been through. But at the very least, one would assume that with the amount of time he spent in college, that he's got his degree and that he's at least he's ready to move on from that standpoint. He would have been very helpful to have back. There's no question. But I think there are better options out there for Indiana in the transfer portal, with the idea being that you need somebody that can space out the floor a little bit. That's you want Trace to learn that, but if you could get a big who can space it out a little bit, who can shoot the basketball, whether he is Race Thompson sized or not, if you can get some space in there, that was one of the biggest problems for IU last year, that neither of the bigs provided space. And although I think it would have helped to have Joey because he might have protected the rim a little bit more, I still think that offensively that without adding someone up front who can do that, you still have a problem being able to be a highly functional college offense.
Charlie?
Yeah, and that's what's going to have to be a major adjustment to me, Mike, this offseason with that, because I want to see Race shoot more as well. I want to see him, that foul line shot. I compared, to give you a heads up, I compared Trace's game on an evolution scale to a Julius Randle, who was in college. And and really didn't take a lot of jump shots. But, this past season with the Knicks, he became an all-star. And I only said that because of the Mike Woodson correlation, and Coach Woodson was around Julius's transformation. So I may not be threes, right? Like you said, it may not be 23 footers, but if it's 15 footers, consistently taking that shot, making it now where you can't pack it in. And then Trace, I think is another catalyst. I want to see him more aggressive. I want to see him take that jump shot, and as athletic as they are, I think you can see a different team, but I know it's going to take some time.
Absolutely. One of the things that I talked about earlier, Mike, that in the pros, there's tampering, which is illegal. And now in college, that does not exist. And now with everybody able to move about, tampering is rampant in the college game. And I'm like, you know what? That's bad, because there are guys that are on current teams that can contact guys on other current teams and say, hey, you need to come over here. And I'm like, that's horrible. That is horrible for the game. And I don't know that there's any way you could control it with the mass amounts of kids there are, but I think that's bad.
Well, let's use an example. Even if you don't go peer to peer, let's say I'm an AAU coach and I have had, I've got 8 alums that are out there in college that are at different programs all around the country, say, or all around the East, whatever. And so, I talked to my player at State U who isn't happy, and I call up the coach at at State Tech and say, hey, my guy at State U is not happy. Would you be interested in him if he were to decide that he wanted to go into the portal? And then the coach at State Tech would say, yeah, we think he would really help us. So I call my player at State U and I say, hey, they'll take you. Nothing that has just happened is technically against the rules. Because I don't have an affiliation with a school. So all I do is ask yes or no questions. The coach at State Tech doesn't even have to answer yes. In order to keep it completely clean, he could just say, well, we have an opening for a power forward on our roster. If you happen to know of one. So the rules are so easily skirted in that sense. And there's, and because there are no binding contracts. If we just did this whole transaction between 2 NBA teams and an agent, now we've broken rules because there are contracts. But because you don't have such a thing in college, nothing that we've done is either illegal or against NCAA rules. It all becomes semantic. And that's why, all you say it's bad, and I'm not going to disagree with that at all, but it's impossible to regulate. It literally is impossible. There's no way the scenario I just described that you can find a way to detonate that, because I can find a linguistic way around it easily.
Absolutely. And it's so the college sports is going to change so much. Name, image, likeness, transfer portal, the ability to transfer one time, college player tampering, whatever you want to say. There is and a lot of this was probably already going on somewhat, but now some of it's been made easier to happen. And do you think that, Charlie, as a player, do you think that there's so many, like 1,200 players in the portal right now? Yeah. Is this going to drop off? Is this first new, hey, this is new kind of thing? And will it settle out? Or is this going to be the wave?
Yeah, I think it's just like anything. I think there's going to be an exploration of options. And I think as a program itself, because there's 2 phases for me. The program itself, you have to be open to it. So as the players are looking at options, I think you also have to look at options as well, because you don't know who's going to come back. And what really takes me by surprise is I'm looking at players in the portals that's averaging like really good numbers, but they put themselves out there. And I'm like, where was the commitment level? Where did that semantic talk start, Mike? Like, did it start? In the beginning of the season, it's like you're sleeping with one eye open. What commitment level you have? It's like, what advantages can you go into with the off season, knowing who's coming back? But it's like, so relationship wise to me, I think that's what's going to really be rocked. I don't know. Okay, I put my name in the portal, and I put out this proverbial, text tweet that everyone puts out, with the background picture of me. Hey, I'm keeping my options open, but I may come back. I mean, how do you come back to that locker room and have those coaches have you with open arms? That's the part to me that I know you both know, as a kind of from the inside, man. That's going to be probably a little difficult. But 1,200 players from 600 last year, wow, man, it's just tough. It's just tough.
There are a couple things in those numbers. One is that the numbers are inflated.
Okay.
The super senior concept.
I got you.
So but the 600 you talked about last year is also a deflated number because of the pandemic. People didn't really know what was going to be like. If you back before that, it was usually around 800, 900.
Got it.
So the question will be, one, I don't think that we're going to end up with only 12 or 1,300. I still think there's more that will come.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the number might be 14 or 15. And remember, you're only talking about 4,500 or so Division I players.
Well, and 357 schools, right? Something like that?
Yeah. So that's 4,500, 15. That's like one out of every 3 players. Transfer.
I was going to say that's a third of the entire deal. It's crazy.
Yeah. So commitment to me, I think those questions on a recruiting scale is going to have to be adjusted, and asked, because I think that's kind of expansive when you're talking about coming into your off season, knowing you have your full team versus people in the portal. So, it's different.
And it's going to be different.
Yeah.
I wonder about how programs adjust to recruiting high school players, because the amount of commitment you put into recruiting that third or fourth high school player, because the opportunity to develop that player and have them stay with you for a full career is way down. The percentages are not in your favor. So it almost becomes to a lesser extent like what the NBA does with its second round, where they just take guys, and if it works out, fine. If it doesn't, we haven't invested anything. And I think that third and fourth recruit in a high school class is going to be, well, if we take him and he turns out to be Hunter Dickinson, yay for us. And if he doesn't, he'll transfer and we'll get somebody else. And I don't think that's a good idea for anybody either.
So what I've heard thus far, to share, doesn't mean anything. As a coach at the Division I level on the West Coast, what some of them are suggesting is the third, fourth level player high school, go to a prep school gap year, go JUCO, because you can't, if you're not a 5-4 star. I think that's the 5-4 star tit for tat, Mike. If you're less than that, I think the next couple of years is going to be probably that. It might be best off you go to a gap year, go get you a gap year, go get better. Because if we do take you, we can't promise you.
Right.
So yeah,
Mike, I had Dusty May and Mike Davis on last week. We did a show with John Laskowski, and they both talked. Mike Davis specifically, they love the portal. As I guess mid-majors, they recruit the portal. Mike says, I love the portal. He says, I recruit the portal. He says, I love the portal.
That's right.
But he also said, I was about 10 minutes from putting Antoine in the portal last year. His son, he's still.
I love that.
That was hilarious. But they like it. And so, the freshmen in high school, those are the kids that are really, it's really changed their options.
Yeah.
I will be interested to see if there are players out there whose intent is that I want to pick the school that I want to go to, and I'm willing to grow with it. Will coaches be willing to grow with the player also?
Exactly.
That's another story. And that I think that impacts a lot of the players on Indiana's roster right now. Yeah. Guys like Anthony Leal, who had good, solid freshman years, but they weren't stars. I mean, there was nothing wrong at all with his freshman year. he had a nice freshman year under ordinary circumstances, but in the current mode, is that enough? Is that, does he get to grow into,
Right.
from a decent freshman to a really good sophomore to a potential starter and an important player maybe later? That's what I worry about.
Yeah.
Mike, what do you have coming up? What do you have coming up next?
Well, I'm coming off phase 1 of my post Final Four coma, so I don't have anything in the hopper at the moment. Although I do have some ideas percolating, and we'll get to those pretty soon.
Nice.
Yeah, this weekend was amazing. I was like, wow, there was nothing big happened. I'm like, I was sitting around waiting the whole time, waiting for it to pop. And I'm like, okay, next weekend maybe I can relax and everything's going back to normal. But yeah, Mike, thank you so much, man. We look forward to it again next week. Make sure you give him a follow from the Sporting News. But I guess so. During the summer, are you pretty much done with your BTN Fox duties?
Oh yes. Those things are in basketball season for the most part. Although if there were significant developments in basketball, I'll pop up on BTN from time to time. They'll bring me in to say hello on the big show and provide some information. It's usually better for the Big Ten if I don't, because that means no coach and that sort of thing. And since we've been through the coach change phase in the conference at this point, I think all 14 are all set now. So it'll be much better for the conference if you don't while. You never know what might happen, though. I mean, maybe they sign a big transfer recruit, and maybe that would be good for the league, and they'll have me in to talk about it.
Nice.
Well, we certainly enjoy having you, man. We couldn't appreciate you more so much, Mike.
Always a pleasure,
you,
and nice to see you, Charlie. I enjoyed talking with you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
The great Mike DeCourcy joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back with more right after this.
Welcome to your.
Oh, I'm glad you guys got to meet. That was cool.
Yeah, cool. I don't know if I'm gonna put it out there. AJ Guyton, I remember he told me this, and he's like, "Man, you got a good memory." I was like, just sometimes people say things to you, just stick with you. I know AJ always had a longing to become a broadcaster. I think it'll be really good. I know he has a kick butt podcast he just started, and I was gonna say, Mike, man, you have any plugs over there to get AJ Guyton a look? Because I know AJ. I mean, he that's something he really wanted to do and pursue. So I just put it out there. So
Well, yeah, he's been on with us a lot. I have him on as much. I promote his pod. As a matter of fact, I put his podcast on the rival site. But yeah, he's does a good job.
Yeah. Well,
AJ, plus he's in Illinois. He needs some broadcast experience because he's got the Big Ten Network right there above him.
Right.
But he needs some broadcast experience.
Got it. Wow.
But doing those podcasts will help.
And now, again, this might be something he said a long time ago when he's moved on from it. But
that's why he's doing the podcast. I think he likes doing that stuff.
So that's what I'm saying. So yeah, exactly. So
I wish I'd have known that before, and I'd have started him doing that.
Yeah. I just put his business out there in the streets. It's all good.
Yeah, we got to help each other, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, who do you typically have on today? Or
his name's Kevin Brockway. He's a writer.
Okay, nice.
Covers Indiana. He used to be in Florida covering Florida. Oh, Miami. He went to Miami.
Okay, there we go. So he was literally like, that's where I grew up. I grew up about 10 minutes, a 10-minute walk from their campus to my house.
Trying to think if he was there when you were in high school or what?
High school for me was like 90 to 94.
I'll have to see where he was in.
Yeah, those are have a little over 10 minutes for this segment. Just
cool. What are you working on right now, Charlie?
Actually, I got
Mr. AAU stuff.
No. I mean that, and And I'll share some things with you offline in the sense of like to kind of probably promote some stuff. But I got a product that's out right now called Complete Basketball Player. It's like an 8-week
a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
I got
Come see us at the Andy Moore Honda. Now in Bloomington.
And I play, yeah.
This
So we
segment is
work
brought
out.
to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
We go twice a day.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Tuesday. Charlie Miller sitting in. Just finished up with Mike DeCourcy. Man, it is nice to be calm. I mean, I know there's still stuff going on. Joey Brunk just announced he's leaving, hitting the transfer portal, but I think that's more of a roster management move. With the new coaches coming in. It's not that they couldn't have used a big guy, but he's coming off back surgery. I mean, they need somebody fresh. They probably want to find somebody that's got 2 years of eligibility.
That's right.
Or more.
Yeah.
Joey just had the one left, I think, but yeah, I'd say this is a roster move. And that's fine. They need to do that. They got to do whatever you got to do to get the program where it's got to be, and you got to do that now.
Yeah, you got to get younger. And like Mike talked about, I think that's a great point. You know, the question is going to be with all this type of movement, do you have a plan for your younger players? Do you see them being around, you know, past their junior year? But, you know, because it's almost like you have to make an adjustment, Jim, every single offseason if this is that kind of movement that's happening. So I think writing the younger players in your depth plan, what you want, you know, to accomplish with them this offseason, I think those are all critical. And I think you said it right. I think that's a roster management movement with Brunk. Yeah, Brunk. So I think that's more of that, you know, probably in a really matter of fact way too. Like I think it might be best for you to probably do this.
And I think the Jordan Geronimo keeping him was a roster man. They worked to keep him. I mean, I'm not saying this with inside knowledge. Right. I know if you keep a kid like that whose mom went on social media and says that we'd like to have him closer to home, you worked to keep him. You see something in him, and a lot of people see something in him. You've seen him play a little bit, but this is a guy that we haven't seen much of because of their limited minutes. He's kind of an enigma. We don't know really what he can do. He's a athletic, crazy athletic, but just not sure what all he's going to be able to do. And I'm like, man, what's that going to get unleashed to? Is he going to turn into a shooter that's able to do these other things? Because when you have that raw athletic ability, there's no limit to what you can do.
Well, and you got the right people in position. You know, with Coach Woodson, you know, Coach Fife, you got the right people in position that can hopefully help him get the most out of himself. And that's what you hope. If it's this year for energy plays, turning into a lockdown defender who's guarding the best scorers, not necessarily best players. You just hope he's going to be used in a different way that's going to really promote his game as well.
And you know about that. I mean, how difficult has that been during this to train, to maintain the level of kids as they're trying to navigate this?
Well, yeah. So, like, for example, I have a player that I train who I don't want to go schools, but he's at a Division I school and he's in a portal. And so I know for him, when it first started, it was mind-boggling because it was a coaching change at the school he's at. Coaching change, so whatever reasons are. So I know his mind was kind of rocked a little bit. Now he's kind of calming down because the talks are calming down. He's kind of getting close to his decision. But I talked to him, and we kind of go like a 90s to where we are now kind of phase on. I can't even imagine going through this. It's like, how can you focus? And you got school, by the way, right, Jim? You still have
Yeah.
school. You still have school. So I say you're still at that school. You know, I got a test at 5 o'clock. I got this. So you still have those things going. So it's just really a matter of holistic development at this point, making sure that you don't downplay or dramatize what that player is going through. And again, relationship now is really important. Just being there for them every step of the way, helping them make that decision.
Chris, and he was backed up by, I went backwards in that. I think it was Michael. Yeah. Both talking about the freshmen on this team. And we just talked about Jordan Geronimo. But yeah, you do have the three other freshmen, Leo Lander and Galloway. Of course, man, Christian Lander, I'm just excited for him having this talent, this coaching staff around him, what they will be able to do with him.
Right.
Anthony Leal, the same thing. He's got to learn how to find a shot,
Right.
work to get himself and be able to catch and shoot,
Right.
not stand and shoot. He's got to be able to work hard, catch and shoot. And you could tell he didn't work on, or that was not a part of the offense, because whenever he would receive the ball, he had been standing in that spot generally for 60 seconds prior to that. So that's not going to work. That doesn't work out on the playground.
Yeah.
I mean, you may get away with that once, but I see you. I see you over in that corner. You may get away with it once. That's going to be it. So,
well, here's what you hope. Here's what you hope they're learning. Everyone says it differently, possibly. It's for me, it's what I call do the work early. It's you have to prepare, right? It's not just shoot, prepare to shoot. And I think preparation, and I'm hoping, these little isms and mentality reminders, I'm hoping that the Fifes of the world and the Woodsons of the world are teaching them how to prepare, how to be ready, don't get caught standing upright, be alert. The small stuff that's going to make a huge impact, late game situation. So I'm hoping that's being emphasized. Not saying it was this out before. I'm not saying that. I'm hoping these small things are being emphasized.
Joey hit us up on the Any More Honda hotline, says, well, Galloway at 18%, I'm worried Jim's a better shooter left-handed. How you know I'm not left-handed? No. Yeah, I could beat that right-handed, but I could not beat that left-handed. But yeah, that's another Trey Galloway. His situation is one that they have to find a role for. He's obviously a solid basketball player. He's a coach's son.
Exactly.
He's not a point guard. He's not a shooter, so he's not a 1 or a 2, not really big enough for a 3 or athletic enough for a 3. Where does he fit in? What role does he find that makes him valuable?
Well, again, you can become a playmaker, right? I mean, some guys is like what I would call, some guys have found their top 20 skill set. And what I mean by that, Trace has found his top 20 skill set. Trace is going to do 1 or 2 things, whether you scout for him or not. He's going to do those things. You know that. A player like that, you got to find it. You got to find that top 20 skill set, whatever that is, and really help him define his role so he can design his role. Because if not, he's going to be put on assignment. And this is kind of that transfer portal, again, I'm talking about, and no one's going to like that. So you got to find a role, got to find a way to have him design his game.
Yeah, Bourbon Barrel Talk says you need a big man that can shoot the rock, stretch the floor.
You got one. You have 2. To me, now it's just a matter. We need confidence. We need courage to do it. You have. For me, you got race. I mean, for me, again, race, Trace, they can do it. Foul line, 15, 18 foot. Man, if they can expand their game, I think you have a team. There's 1 or 2 to 3 more games I feel you win this year. You're not as predictable offensively because they can stretch you. And you're hoping that, again, starting now early spring into preseason, they're getting up a lot of reps. They're getting a lot of ones, a lot of battles, a lot of possessions going on to build that confidence up.
Yeah, let's see. Was it Chris says, can't get that up there. Remember Vic and OG's freshman years. Everything wasn't great. Victor Oladipo does not start out as a great 3-point shooter.
Right.
he came here as a 3-star and
Right.
looking like a 3-star, not a 5-star, not a number 2 pick in the NBA draft.
Right.
That talent has to be developed. It's not accidental.
That's right.
It's
Game plan.
not just from you can't. It's not just from standing in a gym shooting shots either.
No,
There's
no,
so
man.
much goes into it.
No, man, listen, man, it's there's man, they got the state-of-the-art film room, they got everything they need, right? So it's your blueprint. It's that off-season player development plan that's going to be the difference. That's what you're going to see to me September, October. It's watching film, it's the workouts, it's 2-a-days, it's the learning curves, it's the taking notes, all those things I think have to be put in position this off season for us to see really a major difference next year.
We got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Company Point Studios. Chronic Hoosiers on with us next. We're back right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or he's here.
What's going on, gentlemen?
How you doing,
It
sir?
is alive and well, man. It's alive and well.
Charlie, it is awesome to see you, man. I hope you are well.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Is it Chronic Hoosier? I like that.
Man, we do stupid
I would
stuff
introduce
on
you
YouTube.
off. If a Chronic, don't forget we're on. There are YouTube people that can listen, just so you know.
All right, well, I'm going to
He's
still
not
be
going to say anything bad, Jimmy.
No, it wasn't bad. I didn't want him to divulge anything he didn't want to divulge. So.
Now, Charlie and I were on campus together back in the 90s. I was a
Nice.
student at IU when he was playing here.
Nice.
Good buddy of mine, Charlie, lived over on Rose Street with Robbie and Harris and Mandeville in that Linda Prohl that owned Kilroy's owned this house, had a half court, had a hot tub and a pool, a full-size pool table over there. So I'm pretty sure we bumped elbows a couple times back in the day.
Hey, I don't know if I've ever gone. I remember going to Robbie's and Richard's house. I don't know if I've ever went to that half court to go shoot around, or I don't remember that one.
They had a hoop in the back, but they had a big full-size pool table in the front room when you walked in. It was
Well,
like
I
this
remember that.
recessed living
I
room.
played a lot of pool.
Oh yeah, it was a spot. It was right off campus.
I remember waking up too sometimes in the morning, like, okay, where am I?
That's kind of how it went over
Where
that.
am I? Oh, okay, I'm at Robbie's. Okay.
Jim, you want to come back with that clip, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So is it a podcast you have, sir?
I do, man. I just started off kind of messing around.
Nice.
Way back in the day before I started having kids and getting stupid responsible. And yeah, man, it just kind of blew up. I do a weekly podcast on the Star. I used to have a website I messed with, but I just don't have time to anymore.
I got you.
So I mainly just come on here, go on the Star, and act a fool on Twitter when we're playing games.
I like it. Congratulations.
Likewise, I see.
Welcome to your extraordinary destination, French Lick, West Baden, Indiana. You'll find great places to visit, to stay, to dine, and to play. We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
I'm on my way to an island and I'm probably at the pilot. Niggas be broken, be starving, but still talking shit like they violent. They say that they honest, some money these niggas gon' say that they got it. Getting out with the kid is success and these niggas gon' blame it on talent. They don't wanna see you win. They don't wanna see the race. You don't wanna see a bitch caught up in the stars like you out of space. Mention that they kind of at the mention and I'm running out of space.
Oh, for those of you on YouTube there, you can see a little video there. It was Xavier, little Xavier Johnson action. Recent addition to the roster of Indiana basketball. Chronic Hoosier joins us. Welcome back to the Golf Company Eagle Point Studios. Charlie Miller here as well. Chronic, Xavier Johnson, a nice addition to this team. I mean, any concerns of losing Armand has been replaced and then some already.
Yeah, it's been it certainly continues to be a wild ride on the IU scene right now. One goes out, one comes in. Joey Brunk decides he's going to take his talents elsewhere next year, which a little surprising, I guess, seeing as he was a non-counter effectively for this season. COVID seniors getting a free pass against the scholarship count. So, I'll tell you what, man, never a dull moment in the Mike Woodson era. But I guess at the end of the day, too, people got to keep in mind, obviously, what was going on wasn't working. Personnel goes a long way in changing things up. So really curious to see what other moves are in store, because my guess is there's probably some more additions coming here in short order pretty soon.
Yep. So Joey Brunk announced he's leaving. So that is it's a little bit of a surprise, I think, because it's coming this late, but he could have been asked to hold that. I think that's a roster management kind of thing with him kind of coming off surgery. They need fresh blood in here and probably someone that has a little more time left on the table.
No, absolutely. We talked about it last week, how important it is to establish a foundation to give the program something to build upon as it moves forward and tries to establish a new identity. And, when you look at the possible moves right now, it had a lot of younger guys in the transfer portal for the most part. Joey Brunk being, a 20th year senior. He'd been in college for a minute now. As much as you hate to lose that experience, as much as you hate to lose that size, opening that position back up now, it gives Coach Woodson the opportunity, depending on who ends up taking that spot, to put a piece in place that gives you more than that 1 year of contribution that you would have remaining from Joey. Whether it be a guy coming in as a senior from last year with COVID, that's a wash. Any class below that, it's just going to ripple that addition will into the subsequent classes. So it certainly opens up the opportunity to make a move that gives you a little more lasting impact on the program than perhaps even what Joey could have done with his final year of eligibility remaining.
Yeah, Charlie, it's going to be interesting to see when they get this roster finally finalized because we already know there's a few fresh faces in there. And once we get these other fresh faces, and now you got to meld these with the freshmen who they're almost a fresh face for as little time as they really got to spend last year. So you have like three groups of people that you're going to be bringing together, basically.
Well, you got four groups if you're not including the coaches.
As soon as you said that, yeah.
You got listen. So this is like a begin again process. You have so many new pieces that they might get lost going to the locker room. Hey man, you got so there's going to be a lot of learning curves, right? And you're hoping. And I saw Coach Woodson talked about, they want more playmakers. They're still looking in the portal. So, I can only imagine as a player, if I was a freshman, sophomore, what could be going through my head? Who are you bringing in? Am I going to have the opportunity to get some playing time? What is my development going to look like this offseason? So there's a lot of moving pieces that I can only imagine that's keeping everybody up at night in a positive manner because you have a lot of newness going on.
The biggest thing, Chronic, that I have seen with this is the entire fan base. I've not seen any negative. What negative that there was is kind of either gone away or they've either just shut up and said, I'm going to shut up and see how it works out. But it just seems to have calmed a lot of things. And of course, the product has to be there, but it has certainly calmed everything down.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I'm sure that was something that went into the decision making to move on from Coach Miller. Was it's kind of hard to generate a lot of enthusiasm coming off of the 12 and 15 season. So anything that diverges from that path, from that trajectory, I think is going to cause some excitement. This is one of the most excitable fan bases in the nation. It's also one of the more knowledgeable. And, I think people see things in the immediacy. As Charlie was saying before I jumped on, this program's fortunes get made here in the coming months. when there are no fans in the stands, when they're not putting on the game day jerseys. It's the work they're going to do in the off-season conditioning, and the one-on-one, and in the scrimmages that are held in the offseason that are really going to make or break their fortunes next year. So, seeing a lot of guys come in, I love Xavier Johnson's attitude, telling all his future teammates, let's get ready to work.
Exactly.
I love the fact that, right off the bat, Coach Woodson is signaling to everybody on the roster, I don't care who you are or what position you play on the floor, what your role is on the team. I'm going to continue to bring in the best talent available. And, if you feel like I'm recruiting over you, or, if I'm bringing in somebody else in your spot, iron sharpens iron. And increasing the level of competition in Cook Hall is only going to make everybody on this team better. And, ultimately, I suspect they're going to end up, their starting five is going to be the guys that best prove themselves when nobody else is watching. So bringing in more talent's never a bad thing. And more than anything, when you got guys that see that coming in, when you see their positions getting deeper on the depth chart, that don't back down from that welcome the challenge and, strengthen the resolve, that's exactly the type of attitude you need to see fomented, establishing this new culture.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that I'm one that was as critical as anybody on Archie Miller because of what I thought I saw. But to hear the words from Trace Jackson, Davis, and those guys is like, wow. So that they're probably thinking of how much fun they're about to have. Basketball, it does not sound like basketball has been fun for them for 4 years. And if it's not fun, it's hard to do a lot of the things that you need to do. It still has to be fun as a competitor. Competing is fun in itself, but there has to be an element of fun there. I don't know that element of fun was there, Charlie.
Well, hey, so you say that, and I don't disagree, Jim, but the fun is always there, man. It's what we make too common. You get too close for comfort. And I think there was no looking forward to coming to practice, no looking forward to playing the games, because it's almost like you went in with a losing mentality. Now, I'm not saying that was the case, but when you say things like that in reflection, one can kind of imagine, right? So I think this nearby opportunity with this newness is going to bring an uncommon, natural, I got to compete for my spot, right? And I know all the sound bites will be there because people are going to be more intrigued about Coach Woodson's 30-plus year career as an NBA coach more than anything. And I know every player in that locker room, they have a desire to play professional basketball, so they're going to listen. Whatever he says, he didn't have to do. Whatever he says, they're going to do their best at doing. So, Chronic said it best. Competition. I'm going down. I got to get myself up in the level of what I'm doing this offseason and preparing. Especially we start scrimmaging. I got to show what I can do.
A good question, Chronic. With Brunk leaving, so now there's 3 spots now that are back open. I've got to do the math. It's like I can't keep up with it.
Counter, so he doesn't add or subtract. He was just a free scholarship because of because of his status as a COVID senior. So they still have 2 open scholarships out of the 13 counters remaining right now. Now, what's going to be real interesting is he looks to fill those. Obviously, I think you're going to look for the best talent in your positions of need. They need shooters. A little bit of interior depth probably would not hurt them. But you're also looking at a roster right now that's really imbalanced. You've got 4 COVID juniors, by eligibility, Thompson, Finney, Stewart, and Johnson. You've got a pair of sophomores, and you've got 5 freshmen by eligibility. So I guess there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Of those 5 freshmen, obviously 4 of them have already had a season of college basketball underneath their belt. Only Logan Duncombe is coming in completely green on it. But if you add another sophomore, there's 3 seasons of eligibility remaining, including the coming year. If you add a transfer freshman, a COVID freshman, if you will, we talk about redshirt freshmen. It's effectively what the COVID situation's created. Everybody got redshirted last year for eligibility. That's a position that gives you the ability to deliver returns for 4 subsequent years, the next one included. So be real fascinated to see how they divvy that up. One of the things that's omnipresent with this team here from the last several years has been the on-court leadership. So I'm wondering if they don't, one thing Joey really brought to the team was a lot of experience, having been in college basketball for several years, having been in a couple of different programs. There is going to be that void. Now, you look at, I felt like Race Thompson really took a step forward last year, because at the end of the day, for all the talk we give leadership, it's usually what they're doing on the floor. Leadership is something that's done by example primarily. Words certainly matter, but it's usually actions that communicate that the best. So you've got a couple of emergent ones, but that's also another challenge for a new coaching staff, is identifying and cultivating that leadership on the floor. And that's one of those things that's it's tough to replace with the guy that's brand new to the program, that's just transferring in. But that doesn't mean you're not looking for strong leadership in the guys you're bringing in, down the road, as you continue to build the program and establish your team's identity. So fascinated to see with not just what positions they recruit in the transfer portal here, but also what classes and what personalities they bring in to fill some of those voids that are now created.
Yeah, we got to take a quick break. We got more coming back here. Dane Fife is going to be meeting with the media today as well. So I'm not sure. Let me see if I'm not sure if we can carry that. I'm going to check on that real quick, but we'll hit a break and back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle, yeah, I got to see if Dane speaks at 10:30. John, is there any way we could carry that?
If it's live on YouTube, I can pull it up and share my screen.
Did Chronic leave?
Did he leave? I didn't. Oh, yeah, he did leave, didn't he?
All right. I'll make sure that was on purpose.
Well, yeah, if you want to carry Dane Fife and do it during overtime, I can pull it up on YouTube and share my screen and have it up on the stream if you want to do that. The only thing I worry about that with is I don't know if that would be a copyright issue, because that's not ours, but I guess it would.
Well, they send it out afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess that wouldn't be anything. I just worry. I don't want these videos getting taken down, because I know it happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was something different. That was about music, but yeah. So we need to be able to get out right at 10:30 and go to that.
Yeah, I will. As usual, I will.
There's Chronic
back in at 10:30, and I'll go ahead and have it pulled up on YouTube so I can share my screen whenever you're ready for it.
That'd be perfect. Do you have the link?
I mean, if it's on YouTube, I can just wait. Do you know what it's going to be? Is it going to be just?
It's not. No. It's not. Hold on. I have to send this to you.
Okay, that's fine. Send it to me.
So I accidentally disconnected with my face as I'm sitting here getting some work done. If you could get ask a question.
What's that?
Did he get up again?
Yeah.
He said he accidentally disconnected, and he did it again, evidently accidentally.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, shoot me that link.
Yeah,
Jim,
I'm
and
trying.
during this last segment, I'll get it pulled up and ready. No, here he is again. Let's see if he'll.
I don't know why I keep dumping on you guys. My fault.
Anxious or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope, furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios here on this Tuesday. Chronic Hoosier, Charlie Miller sitting in with me. Hope you guys have had a good start to your week. Because I have, because these guys are here. Dane Fife's going to be speaking with the media here in a little while. His first opportunity as an Indiana Hoosier again for the first time in quite a while, Chronic. So I'm sure he's looking forward to that.
No, absolutely, man. I still giddy with the fact that that Fife is once again back in Bloomington. Just as happy he's no longer in East Lansing, man. That rubbed me, that chafed me every time I saw him sit next to Izzo on the bench. Same thing with Mike Lewis, though, man. There's too many guys with too much talent that we let get away for far too long. And Fife was doubly bad, though, because he's out here stealing all our regional recruits and getting them up into the Spartans. So, again, man, that was some art of war stuff. Make yourself stronger while weakening an opponent, getting him back on the bench. Excited to see what he can contribute, both from, teaching these guys how to play some strong man-to-man, but also that dude is an absolute dog on the recruiting trail. He just gets some really good, tough kids. So I'm excited to see Dane open that pipeline back up to Bloomington here real soon.
Yeah, that's going to be the recruiting, but just the bond. We talked about it before. The bond. It's just, I'm not saying it wasn't there with the players, but there has to be a bond with the players and with the staff. There has to be this bond. If you don't have a bond with your coach, then you can't. There's something missing. You play for yourself, you play for your school, but it all has to be there. At least that's been my experience, Charlie. If it's not that connection, you're missing something, and you just can't play as well, as hard.
Yeah, as we talked on Mondays about there has to be a relationship, and I think in Chronic we talked about this last week. And for me as a former player, I think you're going to have the program now galvanized. You got to look at the years from the 70s, like late 70s to like the 2000s, when Coach Fife kind of finished as a player. I think you're going to have more players come back. Not saying it wasn't happening before, but you're going to merge a lot of errors. And for me, like Jim is saying, I think relationship is very important. I'm not saying it was not there before, but I think having someone like a Coach Fife around to really relate to the young players and having Coach Woodson be there for wisdom, I think it's going to really help those players.
Well, Chronic knows. You've been around, as I have, a lot of these guys, the players, and you know what they were like and what their demeanor. You can tell when they're happy, when they're fun, when they're having fun in life. You can see that on their faces, Chronic.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, man. It's at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a game, and games are supposed to be fun. Games are supposed to be rewarding, spiritually, physically. It's something that we do to make our lives better. And, we're real fortunate that we get a chance to watch it and we get to share in that joy. It's a big part of the culture in this part of the country. But you know what, man, I've had some really, really tough coaches that made life miserable, until we stepped on the floor. And then all that misery gets converted into wins. And there's nothing more fun. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing all that hard work, all the sacrifice, all that dedication translate into victory and being able to share that. Some of the best views in life result from the hardest climbs. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Anybody that's ever been through a practice, especially at this level, knows that it's tough, it's grueling, it's oftentimes really, really miserable. But when you're able to get rewarded for all that work, that's when you experience the most joy. And it's been a while since we've had that winning induced joy, at least at the level that I think a lot of these kids signed up for, at the level that a lot of Indiana fans are accustomed to seeing.
Yeah. Question here. Did Charlie meet Dane? I think Dane came in 99.
Yeah, I know Dane. I know him personally. So not only did I meet him, I think I shared the story with you, Jim, when I was a junior in high school. People may not know this. Dane's father,
yes, sir,
is a legend as a high school coach. He's retired now in the state of Michigan. So that's a family tree. Dane comes from a strong Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, Hall of Fame father, a high school coach. So yeah, I know Dane, and really good family, and I'm just very, very happy for Dane as well. All he's accomplished.
And what he brings back as a coach here is something we haven't seen because that has not happened.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about that. I mean, you know, now you got somebody again, like Carly just talked about, who's able to go, you know, in the region and recruit. And not, I mean, for me, I mean, now he's going to be able to talk from a personal standpoint, playing at Indiana, you know, as a former player. So I think that's going to be strong ties as well.
Absolutely. Chronic, the change that's come, it's been nothing but positive, and Indiana Athletics is now on a ride that is all heading in a positive direction with the programs. This fall could just be the start of a nice wave, a big wave that Indiana Athletics may not have ever seen with all of these programs.
Oh, man.
Now, you know, we talk, Jeremy Gray, I think, coined the phrase long ago, about a decade ago, you know, as you see basketball achieving at a high level again. You see football now being a regular bowl participant. Obviously, soccer is going to be nationally respected year in, year out, swimming and diving. But now you've got women's basketball contributing to that. You know, now you've got all these other programs on campus that are achieving new highs they've never seen. And there's a synergy among the department. You know, the phrase "a rising tide lifts all boats." Well, at the end of the day, in the NCAA universe, when your revenue sports are doing really well, everything else tends to do really well because that cup spills over into all the other programs. But like you've seen with basketball, well, especially football, that's been demonstrated now, hopefully like you see with basketball, as well as in all those other sports, especially baseball, women's basketball. You know, you make some key personnel decisions, the right hires, and it's amazing the success that programs can enjoy following that. And, you know, more than anything, the department remains committed to success across the board. So at the end of the day, though, you get basketball and football right, man, and it's downhill sledding in every other category.
Man. And it looks so good, to be honest with you, because, you know, I belong to several sports private groups on Facebook, and all season people were like, IU football, what? IU that? I'm like, yeah, IU football. Don't be surprised.
Right?
Yeah.
What Chronic? What's the biggest thing you've been around the city, Bloomington and IU and all that? We've never seen about what's about to happen athletically wise. What would that mean to the school, to the university, to the town?
I'll tell you what, man. The closest I can recall is late '80s. You know, when Coach Mallory had the football team regularly playing in the postseason. You know, when Coach Knight was really at the apex of his career, or at least still kind of on top of the mountain. You know, that was for me, that was the golden era. That was the top of the mountain. And there was just a ton of pride in everything IU, because you knew it stood for excellence. You knew it stood for integrity. It's exactly the program, exactly the representation you wanted from your school. You know, now that I've earned my degree from IU, put several more degrees in the family, as a matter of fact, there's a whole nother level of pride when you see that come back. And now I can point my kids to that and say, this is what IU is about. So when we go into Assembly Hall, they know what to expect. They know they're going to see a team that competes at the highest level, a team that plays smart, a team that works, that shares the ball. It represents all those things IU basketball was always about. A team that plays some damn defense. That matters. That matters a lot, because you got to recognize you're planting the seeds for future generations. When you set those examples, that raises the bar, that sets the expectation of what it's supposed to be and where you need to be if you expect to play here. And I had no illusions growing up. I went to Coach Knight's camp, but I knew every time when I left, ain't no way in hell I'm ever going to make this team. But that still gave me something to strive for. It still gave me something to reach for, because if you have to see it in order to be it. And having that example in your backyard goes a long, long way until to growing those future generations of guys that are going to be far more capable than I was.
And man, I think having Jim, we gotta get proud of this whole segment, man. He's over here dropping some jewels. He's over here
Oh,
climbing
dude.
mountains, the views. I'm writing them all down. I'm taking notes. I got my pen pad. Chronic over just dropping them. I'm just.
This ain't my first rodeo, man.
I know.
Chronic's been on
I
me.
know that. I know.
Chronic has been on from the start. I mean,
Man.
he has been on from the very beginning, and this ain't my first rodeo. Trust me, I know,
what,
the
man?
goods.
I'm over here. I'm over here stealing everything too. Keep talking, Chronic. Just keep
Hey, I'll
going.
tell you what, I'd go on for days, but I got to jump off here right quick. I got to go do some work, fellas. Thanks for
Yeah,
having
we do
Charlie,
too,
it was
man. Thank
awesome
you,
to see
guys.
you, man.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Hey,
Take
I
care.
can't thank you guys enough too, man. It's been a great fun day. We're gonna have to jump off here too to get over to sit on this press conference with Dane Fife that we'll have for you guys. Charlie, I can't thank you enough as always, man. I appreciate you, and I look forward to doing this. Got double duty with you this week, so I'm very, very happy about that.
Man. Hey, I was available. I got extra playing time, so
I love it, man. Anytime, but I look forward to it. And I, of course, thank everybody else. Thanks to Chronic and, of course, to Mike DeCourcy. Nothing matters without all of you guys. Go out and do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. I get my second shot today. So I'll see you guys on the radio. Have a great day.
all right, my man. Cheers, Jim.
I'll send you the description, okay, John?
Take care, Jim.
Hey, so am I not bringing it on here? Am I not
No.
bringing the Zoom on?
No.
Okay, I just
No.
wanted to make
No.
sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the description, okay?
Okay, so I'll get off here. Am I ending the broadcast?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Just making sure.
All right. Thank you.